All right, so it's June. We're going to be taking a look here at the real estate market on the central coast of California. Make this short and sweet. We're going to get into some numbers here, talk about what I am seeing out there as a listing broker, and what I'm doing to advise my buyers out there looking to own real estate here on the Central Coast. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, please do so. And if you already are a subscriber, welcome back. So as we know, the San Luis Obispo County and surrounding areas is a desirable area, one of the most desirable areas here in California for the coastal living, if that's what you're looking for. So not a lot of people are selling their homes and moving out of the area, although we have some, but a lot of people are moving into the area. The majority of them from Los Angeles County, obviously San Jose, Northern California, and from the Central Valley. So we've got a lot of demand, and we're still seeing that demand continue on through quarter number 2 of 2023. And what we're seeing here in regard to the housing market is relatively low inventory for those home buyers out there. So a couple reasons why that's happening. We'll talk about that later in the video. Part of it is called the Lockin Effect. So a lot of people have locked in lower rates a few years ago in 2019, 2020, and 2021. And now that rates are a bit higher, it makes it more difficult to sell. So that's contributing to the lower inventory. We'll talk about that in a minute. So let's go ahead and get into the numbers. Let's pull up the new listings chart here for May, now that we're in June. So new listings, 255 for San Luis Obispo County. Back in April, 255 as well, so staying pretty steady on that. And in March, 256. But let's take a look at the chart here. We can really see a wide contrast when we take a look at May of 2022, 422 active listing or new listings, and back in May of 2021, 476. So lower new listings. And I think part of that is due to the fact that a lot of the home sellers who are looking to move are seeing that the mortgage difference between the rate that they've locked in versus the new rate is quite sizable. So it does discourage a lot of sellers from selling their home. And that's what I'm seeing out there working with my clients out there as well. So that's something to take note of. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one here, which is active listings. So what we're seeing, like I talked about, is low active listings, 466 back in May. And taking a quick contrast again, back in 2020 of May, up 1,083. So we're half of what we were previously in regards to the active listings. So we've got a lot of demand, we've got low inventory. That's just what we're seeing here in the San Luis Obispo County. Now, it's not the case in all metro areas across the country, but because, like I talked about, we've got a lot of demand from out of the area, people looking to retire here, move here, and live here on the Central Coast due to the beautiful climate we've got, and then a lot of relatively low housing units available, not as many houses available for purchase. So that's keeping the prices fairly strong here. So let's go ahead and pull up the slide for the sales prices. Price for May, 830, dipped down from 867 in April. And we continue to see the movement upwards and fueled by that low inventory and that strong demand. I don't anticipate prices to go down anytime soon unless we get a reduction in the interest rates, which is going to encourage more sellers to sell, which is going to increase the inventory. And you know, supply and demand, more inventory, same amount of demand, we're going to see prices decrease. But that's only if there's a significant reduction there in the interest rates, or unless there's something else that I'm not seeing or something that's an anomaly. I think we're going to see the prices hold fairly strong for the time being, especially after we've gone over that hump of figuring out the debt ceiling for the United States. So home prices relatively strong here on the Central Coast. All right, so median days market, if you've watched these videos before, it's something I talk about which gives us an indication of where we might be headed. So with the median days on market being fairly low, I anticipate that demand is going to continue to stay strong into the next few months and into summer. So days on market 8, which is historically low. When we take a look back in May of 2020, we were at 19. So less than half of what we were before. Now, of course, it's median, different than the average, but it gives us an indication of what's out there. And I can give you some real world examples. So the latest listing that I took onto the market in Paso Robles, we had it on the market for 7 days, and we got multiple offers. We got 6 offers within the first week. I hosted an open house. I got all the marketing done, and we had multiple offers. Went pending on day 7, I believe. So that gives you kind of an indication. Well-priced home, well presented, and with the right process, you're going to get multiple offers. Now, of course, if it's a very unique property like a ranch estate or equestrian estate, which I sell as well, it might take a little bit longer on the market just because it's a more unique property and there aren't as many buyers out there. But if you're well priced and you're bringing a home to the market, you're going to be able to get multiple offers depending on the area, depending on the price, of course, and the quality of the house that you're selling. But you're expecting to get multiple offers fairly soon. It's not like it was back in 2020 or 2022 in May. Where you would get 10, 15 offers within the first couple days. So we've got a little bit of a slowdown, a little bit more of a normalization here in the housing market of San Luis Obispo versus this time last year, but still very strong market. The only concern that some sellers are having if they are selling and buying a replacement property is the inventory that's out there as far as possible replacement property. So that's just something to keep in mind. You want to make sure that you've got the proper process. Either you've identified a replacement property already and you've got that in the contract and we're getting your house listed for sale, or you make sure that you accept an offer contingent on finding a replacement property and that you've got realistic expectations. So that's the only bit of advice that I'm sharing for my sellers who are looking to buy a replacement property. Another one that I like to look at here is inventory month supply. Now this is for the county, so it's fairly broad, but we're at 2.3. And if we take a look back in December of 2021, we were at the low of 1 month supply. But normal month supply, if we look back in May of 2020, 3.8. So we're about half of what we would normally see, which is also the same as we saw with those active listings, around 1,000 versus 466 here in May. That was compared to this year versus a couple years ago. So less inventory. We expect the inventory month supply to be down, and we see that continuing in the next few months. So some numbers here for us to take a look at. All right, so let's talk about that lock-in effect and why we're seeing relatively low inventory here in San Luis Obispo County on the Central Coast. And I think this Fortune.com article headline sums it up pretty well. I can't afford to sell because I don't want to lose that rate. 3% mortgage rates will loom large over the U.S. housing market for years to come. So what we've seen is a lot of home owners who are looking to be home sellers have locked in at a low rate back in 2019, 2020, and 2021, like I talked about. So if you're at a rate of 3.5%, maybe even 4%, you're going to be hesitant to sell your home and move into a new home where the rate is going to be 6-7%. So that is, like I said, putting some hesitancy on a lot of home sellers out there. So what I expect to happen if we get some price, or if we get some mortgage rate reductions, then I anticipate there's going to be a lot more inventories. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. But that's the kind of effect that we're seeing right now, that lock-in effect. That's one of the reasons why I've got that low inventory. So what's my advice for sellers, buyers, and investors? Well, for sellers, I already talked about that. I'm advising my sellers to list properly, to have a correct list price, because we're not in May of 2022 where you're going to get so much attention regardless of whatever list price you're at. We're in a more realistic price point now, so making sure that we have accurate comparables within the last 3 to 6 months. Number 2, that we have appropriate presentation, and that's what my team does. We make sure that we get the photos correctly done. We make sure that we get the 3D imagery. We make sure that we do the proper presentation in regards to staging consultation, or if it's a vacant home, full staging, and making sure that we're presenting it with the listing description, and making sure that we're getting our our listing out there to everybody, and we're talking to all the brokers who have buyers and the agents who have buyers. So just making sure that we follow those 3 Ps: correct pricing, correct presentation, and the correct process. I recommend doing open houses. That really generates a lot of interest and a lot of activity. I'm seeing, I think, for that open house in Paso Robles, we had about 10 to 15 groups come on by. So I'm really advocating for open houses and going back to the traditional, tried and true method of getting your listing sold and getting your house sold for the top dollar. So that's what I recommend for sellers. And if you're searching for a replacement property, like I talked about, making sure that we've got the correct process for that, whether or not you're trading up to a larger home, or you are moving into maybe a single family home, making sure that you've got realistic expectations for your replacement property and that you've got a realistic time frame to find that. So maybe that's renting for a little while, for a few months as you look for the replacement property, or maybe that's finding the replacement property first or finding it off market, and that's something that my team can help with. So those are my recommendations to sellers. All right, so for buyers, I go back to the tried and true process, making sure if you are getting a loan that you have a pre-approval, not just a pre-qualification. You get all of your financials in order. You make sure that you're saving and that you've got your accurate criteria of what you're looking to purchase. Make sure that you've got realistic expectations in regards to remodeling or any kind of renovations, and you've got your budget in mind, because I don't want you to buy a new home and then be cash poor and not have the money to do those kind of renovations that you want. So really making sure that my buyers are talking with my contractors we recommend, or any contractor that you know, talking to the contractor, making sure that you're talking to any vendor that might be doing some of the updating, like landscaper, painter, you're getting an accurate estimate for flooring. And so that's something I recommend for my buyers. Just going through that process, making sure you're prepared and that you're ready to present an offer and win, because there is some competition, not nearly like there was last year, but there's some competition, and we want to make sure that you win and that you get the keys to the home that you're looking for. So recommendation there for buyers, and also being patient. That's another one, because lower inventory, you might have to adjust some of your criteria there, or adjust some of the areas that you're looking for because that low inventory. So for my investors, I am encouraging them to acquire more multifamily units. I don't anticipate that the housing affordability index is going to go up much, meaning it's going to stay low affordability for new home buyers, first-time home buyers, which is going to keep people as renters longer. And as people move from being 17, 18 years old to moving to college or moving out of their parents' house, looking to be new renters, we're going to continue to see renters moving into, out of their parents' home into the rentals market. And then I'm continuing to see more people staying renters because of the housing affordability index. So I anticipate that the multifamily market space continuing to be thriving as it is now, especially here on the Central Coast, where prices are fairly high for residential single-family homes. So like I said, no need to reiterate it. I continue to see that strong demand. All right, so there you have it, our June update. If you'd like a more detailed analysis either of your home or broker price opinion, I'd be happy to provide that. An investment analysis to take a look at your portfolio and give you some ideas on what you can do to either consolidate it or to expand whatever it is you're wanting to do. We're happy to sit down with you and offer a consultation for that. And if you're a buyer looking to buy your first home, or maybe it's your last home that you're looking to retire into and you're moving in here to the beautiful Central Coast, my home county, I'd be happy to sit down with you or hop on the phone with you to discuss your options and how best we can find that dream home for you. Feel free to reach out, and until next time, we'll see you on the next one.